Hello everyone and welcome back for day 6 of the challenge that I'm doing the whole month of November, featuring a film noir each day. On this day we're going to talk about a movie that had great impact on me when I first watched it. The movie is called The Asphalt Jungle and it is a heist classic by John Huston, released in 1950 by MGM. We hadn't yet touched upon the heist film noir subgenre, which is a thrilling one in which a robbery takes place or an attempt to carry out a robbery happens in the film, and The Asphalt Jungle is one of its finest examples.
Only once in a decade does the screen come up with such absorbing characters.
As we have pointed out in previous videos, the script and literary sources of film noir classics are essential. This movie is no exception. In fact, it's quite exemplary. John Huston, who also directs the movie, along with Ben Maddow, adapted for the screen the novel by the same title by William Riley Burnett, a writer whom you might remember because he was in our previous video dedicated to This Gun for Hire, the screenwriter who adapted a Graham Greene novel. If there's something you'll get for sure if you watch The Asphalt Jungle, is the amazing writing talent of John Huston, his appreciation of William Riley Burnett's work, whom he already had adapted for a marvelous movie called High Sierra, released in 1941, and also a movie that I will be talking about in future videos. Both films feature a robbery and a group of men aiming for an almost impossible endeavor that is irretrievably going to end in tragedy. This movie, The Asphalt Jungle, has also many similarities with The Killing, another superb heist movie that I really love and that I'm hoping also to include in this challenge. Sterling Hayden stars in both films, and also both movies take the side of the underdog. This is not just a tale of a criminal act, but a humane approach to a group of men who, much like in Greek tragedies, are hopelessly doomed to failure. That is, I'd say, the greatest appeal of this movie, its approach. This movie, unlike the previous film noirs that we have been discussing so far, was produced by MGM Studios, a studio that you wouldn't necessarily connect with film noir. In fact, you would probably link MGM to lavish musicals, to fine adaptations of literary classics, but not necessarily to films that would present criminals in a more realistic way. Upon its release, although it received rave reviews from the critics, The Asphalt Jungle was labeled immoral precisely for making audiences sympathize with delinquents to the detriment of police officers or seemingly respectable professionals such as lawyers. Both professions in this movie are really heavily exposed. The Asphalt Jungle is eminently an ensemble movie in which, again, we see the human side of all these outcast people and also members of the high society and police officers in a different light. For instance, the professional safecracker in this movie has a wife and a kid, is a family man, and the getaway driver, played wonderfully by James Whitmore, who is a supporting actor that I really love, who also in this movie has a great love for cats too. Is something he shares with Philip Raven from This Gun for Hire, featured in our previous video. But again, the incredible ensemble of actors and actresses that appear in The Asphalt Jungle is amazing. Not only James Whitmore, one great, I'd say, supporting actor, but we also have Sam Jaffe, who plays the head behind the robbery. We have Louis Calhern, another fantastic supporting actor who plays the corrupt lawyer. We have Sterling Hayden, who is again the underdog, the protagonist of this film. We have Jean Hagen, whom you may all remember for her Lena Lamont part in Singing in the Rain, and in this movie she plays a wonderful character, and it couldn't be more different than the one from Singing in the Rain. She was, I'd say, a fantastic actress that gets overlooked. We also have Marilyn Monroe in one of her first more prominent roles. These were two actresses that, in my opinion, could play comedy and drama to perfection. And we have Brad Dexter, whom you might remember from The Magnificent Seven. What's brilliant about all this group of men and women is that they all have an Achilles heel that will eventually cost them a lot. So for some it's horse racing, for some it's women, for some it's power, money. They all have again some sort of Achilles heel, something that turns them into doomed characters. They all excel at their roles, but it was Sam Jaffe who received an Oscar nomination for his part. He is outstanding as Doc Riedenschneider, and also Sterling Hayden, who is an actor that my mom adores and that we have seen quite regularly some of his most prominent films, such as this one or Johnny Guitar. And she always used to tell me how he didn't really care much for acting, but he loved sailing, so he would just do films or work in movies in order to fulfill his passion or his dream, which was sailing. This movie was also released amidst a turbulent time, not that this is not another one, with the Red Scare and the blacklisting. Several actors, but particularly Sam Jaffe and Sterling Hayden and even John Huston, were investigated by the House of Un-American Activities Committee. Another very important element of this movie, which is something that we've seen in previous videos such as the one dedicated to Out of the Past, is the view of the city as a corrupt environment. In the cities that film noirs depict, you can find the worst aspects of society, a sordid atmosphere that is totally the opposite of what you can find in the countryside. The movie begins and ends, in fact, with the juxtaposition of city and the countryside precisely. And the message is clear here: the asphalt corrupts, the earth brings hope. The majority of sequences in the Asphalt Jungle take place in closed spaces, especially at night, which is again one very common scenario for a film noir movie. The movie is shot predominantly as well from low angles, which in a way enhances that whole idea that these characters are kind of prisoners. With these low angles, you see ceilings coming closer and spaces narrowing. So again, the feeling of these actors being imprisoned is very, very high and very much enhanced by the way the camera is positioned. Cinematography, once again, is key to achieve all this, and in this case it was Harold Rawson, who was a veteran at MGM and who was in fact predominantly known for his outstanding work in color in films such as The Garden of Allah or The Wizard of Oz. But in the case of the Asphalt Jungle, he provided with so much of the influence coming from Europe, such as German Expressionism, French poetic realism, and Italian neo-realism, that American filmmakers incorporated to Hollywood films. It is quite impossible for me to sum up all the aspects that, in my opinion, make this movie a great one. This movie is quite a poignant view on society, and at the same time is a dignification for people that would often move in the shadows. So I highly recommend The Asphalt Jungle. If you have never watched it, perhaps it's today a movie that's, I'd say, a bit overlooked. Alright, so that was all for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed this one. This movie is a little bit different than the ones we've been talking during the whole week, and I hope in any case that you also find it interesting. I know that times right now are pretty turbulent. My hopes and my thoughts are that everything will come out the best in the end. So I hope that you're all well, that you stay safe, that you take care, especially for my American friends and those of you who watch me who are American. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me for this film noir challenge, and see you all tomorrow for another video. Bye!